Hi, and thanks for joining us today in our Atos and AWS podcast series, Mainframe Modernization to Cloud Road to AWS reInvent 2025. For more details on reInvent, which happens between 1st and 5th of December in Las Vegas in Nevada, go and to your browser of choice, reinvent.awsevents.com. I know the sessions are now live, so if you're attending, go and book up your sessions, and there's plenty of sessions around mainframe modernization that you can kind of go and search and discover. I'm Simon Withers. I'm part of Atos Group. I lead our growth office for cloud and modern infrastructure, and I am joined today through two esteemed colleagues, Vivek and Rao. So Vivek, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners today?
Thank you, Simon. Super excited to be here. Friends, my name is Vivek Jingar. I lead the cloud modernization practice in cloud and modern infrastructure at Atos, and look forward to an interesting third episode of mainframe modernization.
And Rao, over to you, sir.
Hello, everyone. I'm good to be back. My name is Rao Panchamarthi, and I lead the worldwide legacy modernization to AWS, which means it encompasses everything x86, mainframes, AS400, and HP Nonstop, and all the legacy technologies. And looking forward to have the conversation with you.
Thank you. Great. And just to reflect back, this is kind of episode 3 of a series of 3. In episode 1, we spoke around COBOL to cloud and why modernize now. The episode 2, patterns and pathways, choosing the right modernization. And today it's around modernized and measurable outcomes, ops, and the road ahead. So Rao and Vivek, we spoke quite deeply in terms of our joint customers, one of which was a global tire manufacturer. Some of the work that we've done where, ultimately we've provided the road to AWS, the global leader in hyperscaler and cloud native technology, and with Atos as the systems integrator as well. Awesome partnership, and also very strong and in depth with skills and capability end to end, which works exceptionally well as a partnership and working with our customers. We spoke about the different elements and different approaches around things like cost effectiveness, which is lower cost of immediate steps, things like emulation, code translation, the balance of cost and value around differentiation and agility, refactoring, re-architecting to the AWS platform, and then the direct route to kind of optimize the final state around market leadership and replace and rewrite and truly benefit from the cloud native services, both microservices and serverless like Lambda on AWS, where truly you are getting the value of the AWS platform. And those ultimately have different drivers, different KPIs. And some of the things we spoke about was driving around increasing automation through cloud native. 70% automation was one of the KPIs. Potentially 2 to 4 times faster than manual rewrite, utilizing a lot of things like generative AI and AI technology on the AWS platform through the AWS transform capability, but also reduce of efforts as well. So it's all about speed and time to value, which a lot of customers balance in both the technology solutioning, but also to drive the business case and the value for CXO. So Vivek, when we look at kind of what we've done together from AWS and Atos, and some of the KPIs and the deliverables we've done for our business, for our customers, what was kind of the first KPI that you consider around moves first after the cutover? What do businesses experience in that?
Well, that's a great question to start, Simon. I think most customers are very curious, and this is something that we get asked by almost every engagement that we get into. And the answer really is that the KPIs that improve post cutover depend really on the modernization strategy that you've chosen, be it rehost, be it a refactor or a complete rewrite. But it'll be good to say that I think we typically see immediate gains in cost efficiency, agility, operational agility in terms of how you're able to introduce new features into applications which have been written in legacy technologies, and also to a certain extent system availability, especially when it comes to things like multi-region governance and sovereign becoming more and more relevant in the context of business critical applications. So uh, I think from a rehost perspective, since fundamentally the code doesn't change, so most immediate benefits typically relate to infrastructure cost savings. We've seen up to about 60 to 80% reduction in TCO after the mainframe is decommissioned, as the customer really stop paying for very costly mainframe services. And the most significant gains come from the elimination of the monthly licensing fees for the operating system, and also some of the software vendor software which has been built as part of these applications, and these are typically based on MIPS or MSU consumption. And we've also seen hardware costs getting reduced as you move from expensive hardware to more optimal hardware or cloud VMs. Therefore, there is a significant cost saving that you can expect really as you start. For refactor cases, we've kind of combined our approach to transformation using a harmonized mechanism of exit legacy and AWS transform. And we've seen immediate improvements in code metrics and developer velocity, which becomes crucial, especially when you're maintaining legacy applications and competing in an environment where you're getting disrupted by new entrants. And what we've seen is that the ability to take a change and commit it into production has drastically reduced. Modern tooling also enables frequent deployments compared to long quarterly mainframe release cycles. Yeah. So, and for rewrite applications, the benefits can be significant when it comes to operational efficiency. There's also parameters or factors like elimination of dead code, duplicate code, obsolete jobs, etc. So all in all, you can get improved agility by decomposing monolith applications to microservices architecture, leading to faster time to market. You get improved system performance as modern distributed architecture allows for greater parallelization and immediately boosting the number of transactions that the applications can handle. So and I think one of the major benefits for CIOs is that you are able to get a break from technical debt, which is something that holds enterprises back from faster innovation. So that's what I would share.
And that's actually a great point. So understanding the kind of technical efficiencies, moving away from the mainframe, reduction of cost, hardware, software, the concern around the skills that you require on aging legacy architecture, right? And then pivoting to kind of that, the point that you made around, the time to value, time to market. So, Ralph, in terms of kind of pivoting away from the technology, but then look at the business benefits. Now I'm on the world's leading hyperscaler platform, AWS, and I have all of these services and great capabilities that fundamentally could drive my business forward. So, thinking that, what are ultimately the business benefits now that I've now moved and modernized onto the AWS platform?
Yeah, thanks, Simon. So I'll see whenever somebody thinks of the modernization, I would actually start off with thinking about what is the immediate return on benefits and what is the near term and what is the long term. So if you look at the immediate return on benefits when anybody coming to modernize their legacy and coming onto the cloud, you start asking three or four things and start with operations and cost. So in that category, I put four KPIs I'll measure in the immediate term as soon as the migration complete. Number one, did I accomplish my total cost of operations reduction? Did was I able to kind of measure the batch SLAs and was able to provide faster response time back to my customers? And second is incident reduction and mean time to repair. And third is high uptime. I group them as more of an operations and cost pillar. And these are the four key metrics that we should start thinking about as soon as we modernize and migrate day one. Once we get past that, we should start thinking about near term business benefits. These are more like agility, how many number of deployments I can deploy in a week or in a month versus what was my agility in the past. And this is how the business measures like how fast I can deploy things into the so that the customers can take advantage of the next best business experience, and as well as launching new products to the market faster. That's a second category. I call it as a speed of innovation. And also the one of the biggest benefits you get of that in the near term is now that you are on a modern platform with the cloud and your databases are now near real time available, your business teams can go in and access that data and near real time so that they can start analyzing the data either for the fraud or a marketing or a campaigning email campaigns or a sales campaigns, so that you should be able to unleash the value of the data. These are all the near real time. If you look at the longer term, this is basically depends on how fast you can go. Actually, you can start rethinking about reimagine what's possible next. How can I compete with the fintechs who are cloud-bound companies? Redesign my customer experience and start thinking about net promoter score, customer retention, and also rethink about your business processes to start introducing agents in your end-to-end processing so that people start thinking about chatbots as a starting point, but you can also rethink about all the customer touch points where agents can start introducing the efficiency and best customer experience. So you break this into three categories: immediate term, which is operations and cost; near term, which is the speed of innovation; and the longer term, you reimagine what's possible and compete with the modern cloud-bound companies. So hopefully that kind of summarizes, Simon.
No, and that's really good. Kind of a bit of a subject over the last couple of months, right? So if I look back, mainframe were pretty resilient. You would have a mainframe, you would have a disaster recovery of that mainframe, you may have a hot site recovery with a disaster recovery provider where you kind of subscribe to a set of shared MIPS and you go and rock up to a disaster recovery site once a year and go through your plans. But it was pretty resilient, right? So, big financial organizations that we both work on and work with generally have two mainframes, synchronous replication, a kind of full failover instantly. Thinking of 2025, where a lot of cloud service providers have had some outage across the big three, right? And some of that is actually down to not architecting or well architected designs, or indeed architecting an application to truly benefit from availability zones, multi-region, right, across multiple services, which are all there in abundance with AWS. So Vivek, how would I look at, now I've modernized my mainframe onto AWS, I have the awesome services that AWS provide. I have a great managed service from Atos, right? Everything's great, but things do go wrong. What considerations should I have around both application and kind of those modern those mainframes that are now being modernized? How do I need to look at the architecture? How do I drive resilience? How do I have disaster recovery? And most importantly, before I used to be able to switch on the new LPAR or increase the MIPS, right? How do I benefit from some of the elastic services that AWS have on their platform?
Sure. So I think again it's a very pertinent question. More so because typically mainframe applications are extremely business critical, and therefore it is imperative that when you design any kind of transformation, you need to have the right architecture and design principles to ensure that you continue to maintain the high availability and the resilience that mainframes provide, but at the same time are also able to benefit from the new features that cloud platforms and paradigms make available. So I'll walk you through the approach Basically, we've drawn on blueprints which are repeatable in nature, and we've created those by harmonizing the best practices and well architected framework guidelines from both Atos and AWS. And these will get broken down into essentially elasticity for handling variable loads, uh, disaster recovery for resilience, and also the ability to provide high performance outputs. Yeah. Mainframes, as you know, are beasts for high volume processing, but they don't flex well with demand spikes. So, with our strategy, we've flipped that script by building auto scaling from ground up, and so that resources can expand and contract like you would normally breathe. Right. The second pattern that we typically use is multi-tier auto scaling with load balancing, and we start with auto scaling groups for compute layers, or we go with a deployment of containers on ECS or EKS for microservices, which have been broken down from the legacy monolith COBOL or PL1 applications. And when you pair that with elastic load balancing to distribute the traffic across multiple availability zones, we've seen customers getting benefits of reduction in cost by around 40 to 60% because typically they would have been over provisioning in traditional mainframes. Similarly, when it comes to batch processes and batch jobs, take a serverless or event driven approach for by using AWS Lambda or AWS Fargate, and these can scale to thousands of concurrent invocations automatically, paying only when you use. Similarly, use the benefit of storage that stretches, use either Amazon EBS or Amazon EFS. So there are multiple strategies that you have to take into account when you're building or architecting the modern application. And then you use AWS Cloud Formation or for infrastructure as code to deploy these patterns repeatably, ensuring the application, the modern application, whether replatformed via the Atos AWS Mainframe Modernization approach or refactored with tools, adapts seamlessly. The second part is how do you build disaster recovery uh, into your overall approach. So we design for zero downtime tolerance, taking low time to recovery, recovery point objectives, etc. And in order to do that, we typically deploy the runtime across multiple availability zones in a primary region, and then use multiple different services from AWS to ensure the data and the application are always up and running. And then you use a multi-site active active kind of a approach for mission critical applications, thereby ensuring that you are able to achieve near zero RTO and RPO. Similarly, when it comes to disaster recovery, we use AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery, and it continuously replicates on-premises mainframe servers to AWS EC2. So these, in a nutshell, I think are the typical patterns that we have built along with AWS to make sure that we are taking care of all the parameters and the variables that need to be monitored and kept into account for building resilience and also providing the elasticity for scale.
Great. And I think kind of underpins the importance of, the partnership between Atos and AWS is that it's not just about modernizing the mainframe, it's how you architect, well architect onto the AWS platform, right? It's kind of the full end-to-end from discovery, right? The assessment, then following, refactoring or replatforming, depending on what the strategy is, and then okay, we're on AWS, we've got a magnitude of services and capabilities. It's how do you best utilize those services and well architect for the future. And as I think of the future, I'm going to put both of you on the spot here for 2026 predictions, right? I know that our partnership, especially with things like AWS Transform around use of agents and agentic AI and generative AI. So what kind of looking at now the kind of 2026 predictions for those who are looking to modernize, even if they're at the stage of I need to build the business case out, or I'm in the middle of the modernization, I'm now on the AWS. Those three kind of, if you look at those three optics. So what's 2026 going to bring? Because I'm pretty excited about what AWS and Atos are going to do together in 26, specifically with the new technologies like generative AI, agentic AI, what it brings to us. So Wow, why don't you kick us off and kind of you're in the midst. Do you see like the forthcoming roadmaps and what's coming online? We've got reInvent coming up in December, which everybody's super excited about because you get to hear what's going to go into technical preview or what becomes general availability. What about the audience? So what's your view for 2026?
Yes, Simon. So think of this way, right? Modernization is continuous and it continues to evolve over time, but things are changing super fast over the last 12 months. So when I started building on the mainframe, it was all about how do we optimize the existing environments. And so we actually initially redesigned our entire system from going from COBOL to a business rules engine so that you can do a faster response to the ever-changing the markets. So the business rules are more resilient. Then we moved on and replaced that with AI models, which basically predict the fraud rather than somebody manually modifying the rules real time. And so that when we deployed it, we were able to predict the fraud much faster, and which the fraud prediction scores are used to detect whether that particular transaction is fraud or not. But now I think with the changing agentic AI and generative AI, customers are now rethinking about what are the areas that could potentially benefit from this. I'll give you a few examples, right? Whoever actually thinking about continuous modernization, now they're in the next evolution mode, where a lot of things what we did provide for the customer experience, could those be handled through agents? For example, I'll give you a simple example, right? Whenever somebody is making a credit card payment, or they made a late payment, and late payment fee is charged like $25 or $30, depending on, sometimes you go on a vacation and you forget to make a payment and you suddenly start see $25-$30. Usually what we have to do, we have to pick up a phone and call the customer service, and it takes 10-15 minutes to explain, and by the time it's like time is over. How can we introduce agents which can really understand with what customer is really saying and understand the context around the customer is explaining, and also look at the payment history of this customer and say that, hey, this customer has made a payment on time for the last year or so, and this is the first time. And instead of having them talk to a real agent, can an agent, AI agent, can actually think about it and provide the refund back in real time. And so there are ways the customers are rethinking about introducing these agents into their business processes and customer experiences, so that they can provide better experience to the customers, and as well as and also you don't really need to do a lot of coding and a lot of manual processes around it, and these agents can actually understand the context, think about what needs to be done, and use the data to determine what are the right things within the guardrails provided by us. So if you can take a step back and look into all the processes, customer touch points that are going through these your business process, whether it is a credit card processing, insurance platform, or your electric car in vehicle experience, or whatever, and these agents are going to be completely transforming the customer experience as we see. And I think whoever is already on the path to modernize, whoever is already modernized, are going to be the biggest beneficiaries of this, rather than somebody is already running on legacy and the mainframe. For them, it takes time because they have to first modernize and introduce agents into their ongoing business processes. So it's a game changer for the people who are thinking about it and already on the path to modernize. Yeah.
And I think that's great that, as you say, once you've modernized, you can scale and also benefit from a wide ecosystem of capability and services.
Yep.
I think you're merely then just limited by your imagination. And when I look at things like AI, I think us as human race is ultimately just limited by our imagination when we look at those type of technologies. So Vivek, what's your view? I know you're in the midst of kind of the whole AI piece around some of the things we're doing on digital transformation engineer, digital engineer aligns to AWS Transform. So where's your headspace for 2026 and kind of bringing that live for our customers?
As Dow mentioned, I think mainframe modernization directly addresses the environmental pillar of ESG, primarily through improved energy efficiency and reduced hardware footprint. And I would like to focus on the two other pillars of ESG, which is the social pillar and the governance pillar. And social pillar benefits from modernization through workforce development and improved service delivery. Modernization provides a great opportunity to enterprises to address the mainframe skills gap by integrating new technologies like AI, machine learning, and modern programming languages into the mainframe ecosystem. And therefore, this allows organizations to retrain and reskill their existing IT staff and make them more competitive and future proof also to a great extent as we see the deployment of newer technologies in the enterprise with the advent of AI. Secondly, I think the bigger advantage is around the governance pillar, which gets clearly strengthened for enterprises by the reduction of technical debt, improving security, and ensuring regulatory compliance. Now, we live in a world where regulatory compliance changes very, very often, and therefore enterprises need to be ready to be able to meet a lot of those requirements. And especially with business critical applications running on these mainframe systems, the lack of documentation and the ability to test the application completely within a certain time period to ensure compliance is increasingly critical for customers. And therefore, modernization, especially rewriting or refactoring applications and moving them to cloud, enables organizations to implement modern security maturity models such as zero trust with enhanced data encryption, identity management, and threat protection, thereby reducing operational and regulatory risk. So from that perspective, I think this is great for the enterprises. Second, by being able to move towards modern tool chains, you are able to deploy and innovate faster. And this ensures that businesses can quickly adapt to market changes and regulatory shifts. So I think that in a nutshell provides the three reasons and end-to-end coverage for all the ESG requirements that enterprises have through mainframe modernization.
No, excellent. So before we finish up, I mean, this has been an excellent session today, and we've discussed the outcome and opportunities for business to transform, also the road ahead, covered very much Ro and Vivek around ESG and how truly customers can innovate. So when we think around key takeaways, Ro and Vivek, what within one sentence is kind of a key takeaway for our joint customers today and for those which are listening to the podcast today? Ro, why don't you kick us off with the one key takeaway that you would want the listeners to kind of document and take with them?
Legacy modernization with confidence, powered by Atos and AWS. We have done this many times for our customers, successfully done the modernization end to end, and we're happy to work with customers to make it happen again.
Perfect. And Vivek?
Yeah, kind of resonating with what Rao just said, mainframe modernization might seem like a myth or a risky proposition, but with Atos and AWS working together, we can make that a risk-free journey and a successful transformation path for you with our combined tooling processes and the methodology, which is completely harmonized. So looking forward to be a partner with you on this journey.
Perfect. And both of you, thank you. So So you've been listening to the Atos and AWS podcast series, Mainframe Modernization to Cloud and the Road to AWS Reinvent. To capture and look back at our previous episodes, in episode 1, we had From COBOL to Cloud, Why Modernize Now? Episode 2 was Patterns and Pathways, choosing the right modernization approach. And this episode, Modernized and Measurable Outcomes, Ops, and the Road Ahead. You've been listening to myself, Simon Withers. I've been joined by Raul and Vivek, and we look forward to meeting you at the forthcoming AWS reInvent, which is in Vegas. It's December the 1st to the 5th, and we're looking to a number of opportunities. We're on booth 1661. That's 1661. If you want to reach out to anybody at Atos, there is over 15 technical sessions and workshops that are also dedicated to mainframe modernization that Raul and the team at AWS will be driving, and the Atos team will be involved in that as well. So really excited about all of those sessions, which are across the whole Las Vegas AWS reInvent campus. And for more information on reInvents, you can reach out and look at the AWS reInvent sites. For more details, sign up to those sessions, go on search and discover the mainframe modernization. And remember, people say that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What actually happens in Vegas with AWS and Atos is reInvent transforms your business. Thank you very much for joining today. Look forward to reaching out and meeting each one of you at AWS reInvent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.